Welcome to The Explainer. You know, every company on the planet faces this billion-dollar question, and today, thanks to a really fascinating study from the International Journal of Advertising, we're finally going to get an answer.
So, think about it. Companies are pouring more money into advertising than ever before. But what actually works? Is it all about having a massive budget, just shouting the loudest? Or can a really clever message cut through all that noise?
And believe me, the stakes are huge. Just look at this. In a single decade, TV ad spending went through the roof. We're talking increases of 24%, 43%, and even 57% in major markets. When that much cash is on the line, you absolutely have to know what works.
All right, so let's get into it. First up, our first contender, media spend. You can think of this as the brute force approach, right? It's the power of the purse, just trying to outspend everyone else to get in front of as many people as possible.
Now, in the ad world, they measure this spending with something called gross rating points, or GRPs for short. It's basically a score that tells you the total punch your campaign packs. It combines how many people you reached with how many times they actually saw your ad.
Okay, and this is where it gets really interesting, because there's a huge difference between two key ideas. On one hand, you've got voice. That's just your total spending, your raw GRPs. But then you have share of voice, and that's all about your spending compared to your competitors. It's the difference between just making some noise and being the loudest one in the room. A really crucial distinction. All right, on to contender number 2, the creative message. This isn't about the money, it's all about the ad itself. The idea, the story, the joke, the stuff that actually makes you pay attention. So the study we're digging into here actually broke down these creative ideas into 5 main strategies. First, you've got awareness. That's just doing something to stand out from the crowd. Then there's likability, using humor, cute animals, that kind of thing. You can also go with an information strategy, just laying out the facts. Or you could tap into emotions, trying to make people feel something. And finally, the old classic, a direct sales response, like a limited time offer to get you to act now. And this wasn't just some abstract theory, by the way. The researchers really put this to the test. They took 40 real-world ad campaigns for stuff we all buy. Cleaners, food, candy, and for each one, they talked to around 1,200 consumers. So this is based on some serious data. Okay, so the stage is set, right? It's the classic showdown. Big spending versus a smart message. Money versus the idea. You'd think one of them has to come out on top. But what the research found was, well, a total surprise. A dark horse challenger that pretty much changes the entire game. It turns out that the single biggest thing that predicts what you're going to buy next, it wasn't the ad budget, it wasn't the creative genius, it was just what you bought last time. That's it. Good old-fashioned habit. And this quote from the paper just nails it. When they ran the numbers, the effect of ad spending on whether someone intended to buy something was just 0.01. I mean, that's basically nothing. But the effect of their previous behavior? A whopping 0.79. It's not even close. It's a total knockout. Just how strong is this habit thing? Well, the correlation between what someone bought before and what they plan to buy again was 0.98. Now, to put that in perspective, a perfect one-to-one correlation is 1.0. So 0.98 it's almost a perfect predictor. We are absolutely creatures of habit. So what does that mean? Well, it totally flips the script on what we think advertising is for, especially for those big established brands. Maybe its main job isn't to persuade you or change your mind at all. Maybe it's just there to reinforce the habits you already have. Just a little nudge, a friendly reminder to keep doing what you're already doing. Okay, so let's get to the final verdict here. The key takeaway isn't that one thing simply wins and the other loses. It's way more nuanced than that. The best tool, whether it's spending or message, really depends on what you're trying to do. And this table breaks it all down perfectly. Look, if your only goal is to get people to remember your ad, then yeah, a great message and a high share of voice are your best friends. But if you actually want to influence what people buy, habit is king, hands down. But notice that little detail at the bottom? For smaller up-and-coming brands, that's where message and media spend can actually start to move the needle a bit. So this all boils down to a pretty clear playbook for advertisers. Want to get noticed? You need a clever ad and you gotta shout louder than your competitors. Want to be liked? Go for emotion and likability. Trying to grow a small brand? Focus on that share of voice and build an emotional connection. And if you're already a huge brand, you got to be honest with yourself. You're mostly just reminding your existing customers to stay put. And one of the most surprising things to come out of this whole study was about the information strategy. Just listing a bunch of facts and features about your product, it was consistently the worst approach. For the kinds of products they looked at here, candy, cleaners, things we don't think too hard about, hitting people with a logical argument actually made them like the ad less. How crazy is that? So this leaves us with a final thought, a new way to look at things. The next time you see an ad, don't just think about whether it's funny or annoying. Ask yourself, what is its real job? Is it trying to build a brand new customer from scratch? Or is it just giving a gentle pat on the back to an old one? Because the answer to that question, well, it changes everything. Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer. All the analysis today was based on research from the International Journal of Advertising. We'll see you for the next one.